Hi, it's me, Vicky Marie. How are we all this morning? Let me just say hello to everyone. So, Princess Tippy Toes was here earlier, but she's at the doctor's, bless her. Hope you're okay. Hi, Joanne. Hi, Phyllis, 4 a.m. in Kentucky. You can't sleep, obviously. That was me last night. I didn't sleep. It's terrible. Hi, Daniel. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Joanne. Wendy. Karen, Patterdale Man, Maya. It was difficult to sleep last night. I think it was the heat as well. So it was hot, but it was all churning around in my head. Hi, Lisa. And we have to accept that at the end of the day, that's the verdict. The verdict is accidental death, and I understand that the family were pushing for that. And I think for the family, they're probably just grateful to get it over with, if you like, and to get a conclusion, and a conclusion that's better than the conclusion of her taking her own life. So I think the good things that came out of the inquest, if you can call any of it good. Hi, Wendy M. Hi, Pauline. Hi, Dawn. Hi, Arlene. I hope I don't miss anyone. Hi, David. Hi, Jason. I think the good points, if you like, that came out of it were we knew, that she hadn't taken her own life. So that's I think there was absolutely no sort of reason to think that, apart from this thing that had been released about her having these issues. And it's ironic, really, isn't it? Because we've always said that right from the beginning. They're sort of blaming, a lot on social media, saying things. But I think on social media, who said on social media that she had problems with alcohol and that? Well, we certainly didn't on this channel, did we? Hi, Rachel. We never on this, as far as my opinion, right from the beginning, there's not one of my videos that you will find where I've said anything that I thought that Nicola had taken her own life, or that she had problems with alcohol. I never sort of, or that she might have had alcohol in her system that morning. Just never even occurred to me that could be the case. So that's one good or two good things, isn't it, that have come out of it. That's been established, that she didn't have alcohol in the system. She didn't take her own life. That bit of comfort to her daughters, and it's better to think of it as an accident than to think that somebody went off and left you, Now, so it's all been going through my head, and that there is just, I don't want to keep banging on about Nicola, just like constantly. But I think we have to look at the result of the inquest and see it's almost an inquest into the inquest, isn't it? And it was interesting to see the timelines come out, and I still have to sit down and actually look at everything and write it down consecutively, because obviously I was doing the live stream and they're quite long, so that might be the weekend before I sit down and actually get all the points out that I want to make. But obviously I did, there were things that came up. So I want to, today I'm just we'll be looking at some of you may have seen it already on social media, the video of the police cam, like when they went back to the river, when the coroner sent them back to the river. I mean, well, you tell me what you think. You may have seen it already, but to me, it did anything but prove the theory of accidental death. Anything but we'll look at it together and we'll see what we think. Hi, Bad Fairy. And the other thing I want to look at is the case of Michael Brookes, which was a similar sort of circumstance and was found as an open verdict. And so what I want to look at is, what is the difference? Hi, Jennifer. I can't remember if I said hello to you or not. Sorry. If I don't say hello to anyone, I'm sorry. What is the difference between Michael Brookes's case and Nicola's case, in the fact that Nicola's was accidental death, the verdict that was concluded was accidental death, and Michael Brookes was an open verdict, which again, his mother Yeah, they can blame social media all they like, but it's a load of rubbish, because it wasn't social media. Social media reacts to circumstances. If the circumstances would have been clearer, then social media wouldn't have even become attached to this case at all. So we react. Social media can only react to what's pushed out to it. It's not going to, it doesn't sort of just, well, certainly on this channel, we don't invent things. It's just we're reacting to the drivel that we're being given, and now it doesn't make sense. So, that's just, but I just take that with a pinch of salt at the end of the day. If anyone thinks that the whole purpose of these videos that I do isn't that I just want to see what happened to this woman because she's a woman and I'm a woman, and who knows, is the man in black still running around St. Michael's? There's too many if there weren't unanswered questions, if the questions had all been answered at the inquest, we would all be happy with it. I want to just hi, Kelly. Yeah, the thing is, mainstream media now is very threatened by social media, because people are watching more social media than mainstream media, because they don't trust the mainstream media. So what people are doing, they're finding their creators that they like, or they're even just like, it's like a selection box, isn't it? I watch certain creators for things that I know that I like the way they do that, and then there's other things that I think, oh no, I don't like the way they do that. We're cherry picking now. We can cherry pick. We don't have to just watch the BBC or the ITV and go, oh yeah, that must all be true because the BBC has told us. We're finding our own information now. And even, it's true, and even sort of, the young people have been doing it for a long time. Younger people probably never bother with the mainstream media. But now, and I'm talking about myself here, someone who wasn't born in the era of social media, etc., but I'm still finding it now. We're finding it. We're knowing what to do with it. We're making our own decisions. We're listening to all, sometimes I sit and listen to, in the end, the conclusion comes to this right load of crap, but that's fine. But I'll listen to it, I'll give it a chance, because we listen to all different. My son says that to me every day, and something that happened when the Ukraine war started. I had a student who was learning English, who was in the Ukraine, in Kiev. The day the war started, I was on class to him on Zoom. And he said to me, don't believe the mainstream media, because he had a very different view of Zelensky. And I won't go into that because it gets too political. But it's always so much more complex than what we're force-fed. We just force-fed a certain narrative. There's always much more to it. Of course, that's how life is. So, it's not only with Nicola's case. I think that's why I think Nicola's case has been so relevant to everybody as well, because it's brought up so many things, hasn't it? But anyway, so first of all, I just want to see, because I don't think, now what's interesting, I'll put this up for you to see. Oh, so I went on the coroner's site to see if the verdict has gone up yet, and it hasn't yet. The inquest conclusions for yesterday, you should be able to see on there now. So these are the inquest conclusions for yesterday, 27th of the 6th. Thomas Boycott is the last one, the last conclusion that's been put up there. So Nicola's isn't up there yet. And I'll be interested to see that when it does go up, how it is actually, it's going to be a narrative. It's got, surely they're not just going to put accidental death, they're going to put a narrative verdict, but I don't know. So as soon as that comes up, I would share it with you. I will share it with you. So I just want to look at what the Manchester Evening News, so that we just remind us of what they said. share this because, yeah, and there was some, yeah, I'll show you that as well in a minute. So he concluded there's an absence of any evidence as far as suicide is concerned, which is true. Dr. Aidley says there is no sign of natural causes, and the only remaining conclusion is accidental death, a conclusion he records. I mean, I'm still a little bit staggered by this, because he did say, I mean, he is unable to determine exactly why she entered the water. That's what I've picked up on straight away. He is unable to determine exactly why she entered the water. So how does he know it's accidental death? That is my thing. And nobody, and I think the reason that he's come to the accidental verdict, death verdict, is because the family pushed for it. And I understand the family who's pushing for it. You know, I'm not criticizing them. I'm just saying that does not mean, to me, I can't. Where's the evidence of accidental death? There is no evidence of accidental death. There's evidence that she drowned because there was water in her lungs. But we're going to look into that, you know, but how she actually got into the water, we don't know. We know she drowned. That is evidence that we've had. But we haven't got the evidence of how she ended up there. So he says himself, he's unable to determine exactly why she entered the water. So how can you record a verdict of accidental death when you don't know it's an accident? That, you know, I will never stop, you know, thinking that to me, he's been pushed by the family. And it led me to think of other similar cases. You know, there are, and it led me to think, let's look at Michael Brookes' case first. So it led me to think of Michael Brookes, and I thought of Michael Brookes because, you know, there's a connection between him and Jason Rothwell. There's all this controversy about whether Jason helped to find the body or whether the mother found the body, or I don't know about that, so I'm not getting into that. All I want to get into is the verdict and the circumstances that Michael Brookes, bless his soul and bless his mother, because his mother, you know, anyway. So let's have a look at this case. So Michael, this is Michael. This is a picture of Michael. Let me just check. You can see it. Hi, Essex boys. Hi, Debbie. Hi, Louise, Holly. Hi, Maltese Cross. I'm just saying hi, Heather. I don't know if I said good morning to Kelly. Hi, Phyllis. Awake the groom. Hi. Right. So I'm going back into the story now. So if you come in and I don't manage to say hello to you, I'm sorry. So I wanted to look because it reminded me of Michael Brookes' case. And obviously we'd been talking about well, we hadn't been talking, not on my channel, but I'd seen it mentioned on other channels because of the Jason connection. So this boy was a teenager, and he disappeared in Avenham Park and ended up in the River Ribble. Now, Michael Brookes' family, I've urged anyone with any information, because they don't know what happened. The last man to see him alive, let's see. Oh gosh, I hate these things. They have so many adverts. After a 2-week search, Michael was found floating in the river in Penwortham, so the River Ribble this is, after a 2-week search, so quite a lengthy search, by Mountain Rescue, Fire and Rescue Services and friends and family in February 2018. So bless him. So he's 19, he would have been 24 now, so he's similar age to my son. His mother must be terrible. The last man to see him alive, Connor Rishton, told an inquest how Michael disappeared into the night after the pair went to watch the stars in Avenham Park, high on hallucinogenic drugs, at around 1:20 a.m. on January the 13th. Oh, for goodness sake. But other witnesses gave statements claiming Michael was thrown from the old tram bridge by 2 unnamed men at knife point to settle an outstanding drugs debt. So the area coroner, James Newman, recorded an open verdict stating there are two very polar opposite accounts of how Michael has gone into the river. And Michael's aunt said, we don't want rumours or further upset or confusion, but we appeal for people to think back to that day, and if anything sticks out, please go to the police. So he was recovered on February the 6th. Throughout those 2 weeks, Lancashire Fire and Rescue Service deployed drones, search and rescue boats, underwater search teams. So there's a witness who said he was thrown in. There's a witness who said he just disappeared into the night. So didn't, his family and friends scoured the area around the park looking for clues as Lancashire police conducted a widespread missing person investigation. Now listen to the post-mortem. A post-mortem into his death revealed he had drowned but did not find any other signs of injury. And so, recording an open verdict into Michael's death, the coroner said, with the best will in the world, I don't think we are ever going to get all the answers. In a statement, Michael's mum, Joanne, said, I know that nothing that happens today at the inquest will change the outcome. I'm not a crazy mum looking for justice. I'm a heartbroken mum looking for answers. And then it goes on to talk about his last movement. So his friend said he ran ahead of him and sort of disappeared. But the point I'm trying to make, the point that strikes me is it's there's no evidence of how he went into the water, just as there's no evidence how Nicola went into the water. It doesn't matter how steep the bank is. It doesn't matter on the tidal flow or the this, that and the other. And actually someone very kindly sent me the river flows, which we're going to look at as well. I'm glad I remembered that, actually. We're going to look at them when we look at the police. So my point is, what is the difference between his case and Nicola's case? When there's no, and I appreciate that there is no evidence of foul play in Nicola's case. No evidence, but there's no evidence of accidental death either. This is my point. It seems obvious that it wasn't, she didn't take her own life. I think they more or less clarified that she was planning things, and, there was enough information and evidence to prove that that wasn't what she did. But there's not enough evidence to either prove, there isn't evidence to prove foul play. We've got this man in black, which I'm going to look at in a video later on, which just came out of nowhere that we didn't know anything about. Suddenly there's a man in black wandering around the fields in St. Mike. I'd be very uneasy if I was walking my dog there, because who was that person? They've never been identified. So that's one. Then there were the screams that were discounted. But again, it might not be enough to prove that something happened to Nicola, but it's enough, surely, to make it not, there is nothing to prove that it was an accident either. So I don't understand this distinction. This is what I'm saying. So what do you all think about that? Do you think, were you surprised? Were you surprised that, yeah, and Wendy, I looked at that thing you were saying about, there was an incident, wasn't there, of a woman chased along, was it the canal path by a man in black, but they said it had no connection to Nicola Bulleys' case. But I've seen the CCTV of that. It looks just like the description. I might have taken it off now. But it looks just like the description that the witness gave of the man in black. So why have they discounted that just so, I just don't understand. But anyway, so yeah, I wanted to talk about Michael Brookes' death and say I think that's a very similar case with no evidence one way or the other. So in the end, the coroner came to the opinion that it was an open verdict because he didn't know. He didn't know how how he went. Now we've got a case where the coroner doesn't know, admitted that he doesn't know how she went into the water, but still, he must have done that for the family, I think. I think it's the family push. And, you know, a lot of families obviously don't have the money to pay for a lawyer or whatever. So, you know, and I understand why the family have done that. I honestly really do. But all I'm saying is it shouldn't matter. The coroner can only give a verdict, in my opinion, on the evidence that is presented with or she's presented with. And I don't see, there was definitely a pressure there. I don't see that the evidence was there to conclusively say accidental death. You know, if there was like scuff marks, or you could see where she tried to pull herself out of the water, or anything, but there's nothing. So that's, I'm just not accepting that. I'm sorry, but I don't accept it. I think it was done under pressure. So what we're going to look at now is, as I say, I think probably some of you have seen, where have I got it? I've got it. Yeah. We're going to look at the river. You know, the somehow this body cam has come out from when they went back to the river under the coroner's request. You know, the police went back to the river, didn't they? And we're going to look at the actual body cam from the police, which if you haven't seen it before, well, because I've seen videos of the I can't see how she fell in that river. To fall in that river, you would have to go right up to the edge. She wouldn't have gone right. What would she have gone right up to the edge for? They're trying to say it was something to do with the dog. Why would she have gone right up to the edge? The only thing that would get you right up to the edge is if your dog had actually fallen in, but the dog was dry. So, yeah, Standard Life Daily. Somebody's given, I'm going to show the water levels. Someone sent me the water levels. But the first thing I'm going to do is, yeah, Joe H, that Richard Fife, he thought he was so suspicious he reported it to the police and nobody did it. Hi, Cyanid's Art. What have you just sent me? Have you just sent me something? I can't look. Oh, yeah, I think I can look at it. Let's have a look. But I won't show it. It won't come up on the thing. Oh, no, I don't have. Anyway. So let's have a look at this video. Because, and I'll put it on. I've borrowed this from the channel, the 411. She's quite often comes into my chat. I know she won't mind me showing it. She won't. I hope you don't mind. I'm sure she won't. Yes, so go over there and give her a sub. Right. There you go. So it's there. So I'm going to play it. Let me know what you think. Have a look at it. Some of you might have seen this. I don't see how she ever fell in the first place. Just watch the beginning of this. So this is who I call PC Plod. This I can't even remember his real name now. Oh God, what's his real name? Anyway, he's a guy, the police diver, the expert that gave. He told us what his name is. So here we are at the bench.
To Allotment Lane, in relation to Nicola Bulleys.
Let me go just see if he says it.
I'm PC 3410 Thackeray, Lancashire.
That's right, it's PC Thackeray. Okay, and he was the one that gave evidence at the inquest. He was the one that said that they didn't bother, you know, about the snag areas, but they didn't bother searching them. But the fire brigade did. He mentions that again in this video.
Stably, currently on secondment with the Northwest Police Underwater Search and Marine Unit. I've been asked to record some of the features of the river wire near to Allotment Lane in relation to the Nicola Bulleys inquest. Today is Tuesday, the 4th of April, 2023. The time by my watch is 11:07. Currently stood at the bench where we believe Nicola was last before she may have entered the water. As you can see,
Now notice he says that this is where we think she was before she may have entered the water. And notice where the path is and the bench. That's where people walk their dogs, on the path. See how far away it is from the edge. She wasn't walking on the edge. This is the path. It's miles away from the edge, first of all. So to go over that edge, you've got to go right down to the edge. To fall in that water, you've got to be on the edge. So if she fell there, you know, like somebody said, oh, maybe she had a dizzy spell. Because, of course, she was at the hospital, wasn't she, just before she was at the casualty department saying that she'd banged her head. Now, I'll leave you to make your own mind up what might have really happened there. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying it. She could have fallen and banged her head, but could have been something else happened. So some people have said, oh, well, maybe she was dizzy and she fainted, or she got faint there. She's nowhere near the edge. Why would she have gone to the edge? Honest to God, the more I think there's a substantial distance there. So what did she do? Faint and then roll down the hill into the water.
You go down to the river. It is quite a steep slope. The river is probably down about half a metre from
so this is the edge.
day when we attended, when she went missing. When you get to the bottom, you can see it's quite large.
There's no evidence that she went near to. Why would she have gone down there to the edge? So and carrying it on, even if we presume that she did go right down to the edge, I still don't believe it. But okay, so let's imagine she stood right on the edge for whatever reason. I mean, really, are they saying that she was that stupid that she went down and stood at that edge like he's standing there now? He's standing there. He hasn't fallen in.
Step down into the water. Hopefully you can see on the screen. It's a pile of rocks.
How could you fall in there unless you actually went to the edge? Anyway, then there's a load of rocks. Now we can see that that's not particularly deep, is it, at the moment?
Those rocks constitute a wall that goes pretty much vertically straight down in the water to around 4 meters of depth. And then as you go out across the river, it slopes gently upwards with a sandy bottom towards the far bank.
So it slopes upwards as well, remember, but anyway.
If I get into the water, it doesn't look like it's flowing very fast at all at the moment.
Not flowing fast at all. It didn't look like it was flowing fast on the day, you know, from the videos I've seen.
You could see there was a steady flow downstream. At the moment, we're above the weir, and the whole time we were here searching, the water was flowing downstream towards the weir. Once I get into the water here, you can see.
Okay, so let's remember then. Supposedly, she's gone in the water there, plopped into that water, and had this cold water shock, possibly dead within 30 seconds, the experts said. So God knows how cold water swimmers get on. So it was 4 degrees. Well, they said it was 4 degrees. Later, they changed it to 3.6 or something. I suppose there's not much difference. Now, that's cold. I know that's cold, but, you know, people swim in a lot colder water than that, like minus degrees. So if she would have walked to the edge, plopped into the water for whatever reason, fainted at the edge, because, of course, she was stood at the edge, fainted into the water and drowned, all the experts so far have been saying that a body will go straight to the bottom. But she wasn't found, and they were looking for her within quite a short time of her going missing.
Some trees that overhang into the water, but it's fairly clear at the point of entry on both sides. There's nothing that could have stopped her, and you can see as we look back, the wall, as I said, goes pretty much straight down.
Just as he's there, there's somebody walking past. Are you telling me that she was floating on the top of that water and nobody saw her? Right, I'm just coming back to, I just want to see what you're saying about it. What do you think? You know, do you see what the guy is doing? He's having to walk. He's not even getting carried along with the current. He's disproving his own. To me, they released this. This is supposed to be proof. To me, this is like proof, even more proof that she didn't fall.
Looks like it's man-made and to stop the erosion at the corner of the river. Now I'm into the middle of the river now, and it is pushing me downstream towards the weir.
So he says it's pushing him towards the weir.
Probably.
It's not pushing him very fast, is it?
And it was certainly flowing a little bit faster on the day in question. On the day in question, the water was 4 degrees Celsius. To somebody who's not in a dry suit, that would feel very, very, very cold, almost freezing. And if it fell in accidentally, I think the cold water shock would have probably taken effect.
See all these ifs. If you fell in accidentally, even the coroner in his summing up, it was if she went in, this would have happened. I didn't think verdicts were decided on ifs. It reminded me of like the Phoenix Nights, you know, would have, could have, should have. Where's the evidence? Not if and would.
Causes you to gasp, can cause your muscles to seize, so you can't swim properly. Underneath us now,
what they're doing is making it up.
I dived on the first day. I know there are about 3 trees on the bottom, about 3.5 meters down here. We searched all around those trees.
So he says they searched all around the trees that were there. They were all searched around. So she wasn't there, according to him. You know, they've been also the thing that, you know, how super duper they were, and now they had waders and they had this, that, and the other, but they didn't find her. So he's saying they searched all these.
There was nothing caught up in them.
Nothing.
So it's my belief, if she did fall in, she was probably floating.
So it's my belief, if she did fall in, she was probably floating. So there she was, floating down the river, and nobody saw her.
Pushed along in the flow. To get a little bit further down, you can probably see there's an island in the middle, and the first real snagging point onto the right there, which are the trees hanging into the water.
He's not even being carried along by the flow. He's having to do it himself.
Here, it's very sandy. The water is quite murky. However, we could see when we were on the bottom between about 1 meter and 2 meters using a torch. It gently slopes up to the left where it reaches the far bank. On the right hand side continues to be that wall. This far down, I believe there was a bit of a ledge about 1 meter under the water before the ledge came out, probably 1.5 meters before dropping down again to about 3.5 meters. As we get further down towards these trees, I remember the water, the bottom started to slope up, and I've just reached the bottom now. So quickly, you can see how quickly it slopes up. I am now standing up in the water, about 1.5 meters deep here. And this part was all searched on the night. So
this part was all searched that night, he's saying.
As we could see through it using torches. I don't know if you can see on the screen, you can see the bottom here. It's completely flat, a few rocks. And the first place you could have had a body to be caught up, really, would be this tree. Obviously, this was searched.
So that tree was searched.
As we move further towards where this island is, we're getting to about 100 meters from the point of entry.
Notice how he's having to walk. He's having to wade along
once again,
there.
it gets deeper and deeper.
He's wading along there.
And,
It's not being carried
on
along.
a subsequent day.
Or certainly not quickly.
We searched around the front of the island here.
So they searched
and
all
nothing was
that.
found on the actual day. I'm currently off the bottom again. So it's over 1.5 meters deep here. I think from memory, and dive further down later, it's about 3 meters.
So he said he went down about 1.5 meters and then he went down further later. Don't know what he means by later.
Just past, sorry, it's about 2 meters deep just past this island.
2 meters.
And then once again, we start coming up to the first right-hand bend. The water starts to shallow out.
Okay, so he's coming up to the first right-hand bend and the water's starting to shallow out. Well, it wasn't deep before. Now, is it just me, or is this supposedly proven to prove why they couldn't find the body? To me, this just suggests why couldn't they find the body?
Very shortly, I imagine I'll be able to touch the floor again. I'm not swimming along at all here. I'm just letting the flow take me. So it's a slower flow than on the day in question, but it's still happily walking pace. If you can see us moving along the bank. Again, you can see a small overhang of trees as the river bends to the right. Still not touching the bottom. It's around 2 meters deep here.
2 meters deep here. With
the bottom continues to be sandy and flat with a few rocks on it.
So it's sandy and flat with a few rocks on it. So it should have been quite easy to search with sonar equipment and things like that, shouldn't it?
No, there was a tree here as well that was located on sonar that was dived and searched all around.
So there's a tree there that was dived and searched all around. He's not moving very quickly, is he? I mean, he says that about the flow, but to me, I think the flow is very slow. Surely anybody who would have been walking past would Nicola not? If she was either on the bottom or she was floating. So if she was floating, she was visible. So is he really saying that nobody saw her?
Apex of the corner. My feet just touched the ground now, so it's probably around 1.5 meters deep here. Again, nothing on the bottom at all that would hold anything up. No overhanging trees that could have really been a snag. And we searched in a line on the night she went missing, all the way from here down to the weir.
So he says they searched in a line the night she went missing, all the way from the bench down to the weir.
So it gets shallower and shallower from here.
It's getting shallower and shallower from here. They searched in a line. So I presume then they were all wading a line right across, searching, and they didn't find her.
Now looking about 1 meter's depth. Hopefully you can see on the screen. See the bottom. There's nothing on it.
Do you see his shadow there? I mean, he's totally out of the water. It's so shallow. You can see his shadow. It's literally only up to his. It looks like he's only up to his. Let's have a look. You see his shadow there with the... Looks like he's only up to his knees or something. I know Nicola was little, but she wasn't that little.
If we get around the corner, because it gets shallower,
But you can see his shadow
narrower,
here.
The water starts to pick up in pace as you get towards the weir.
Yeah, as it comes towards the weir, it will start to pick up, I suppose.
The exit of this corner is about 200 metres from the point of entry.
But he's just walking through that water.
Sandy. Nothing there to cause any kind of snag. We're
Oh
confident
my God.
on the day in question that she wasn't in this area.
You see his shadow. He's just, you know, it's just like paddling through that water.
The depth across the river.
Just need to see what people are saying, because do you see, am I imagining it? Or you can see, yes, it's the police diver, though he's not this is PC Thackeray, Wendy. This is the guy that gave evidence at the inquest about the river. But when you actually look at this is the video that he took for the coroner to supposedly prove that if she fell in the water, what would have happened to her body. But to me, he's just wading through this. You know, but she wouldn't, do you know, Mickey the monkey, she wouldn't need to swim. I mean, I think what they're saying is if she fell in the water at the bench, they were saying that the cold air would make her gulp and that she could have been dead within seconds, which I'm sorry, don't believe it. But let's supposing she did bang her head, or I don't know, and she couldn't swim for whatever reason. But she wouldn't need to swim. This guy is walking. But the other thing is, why did they not find her? So the guy said that they made a police line across the river and walked the whole length of the river up to the weir, checking nearly all the snag points. We'll hear that in a minute. It's just a load of rubbish. And they expect us to accept a verdict of accidental death. It's not proven. It may have been an accident. I'm not saying it definitely wasn't an accidental death. I don't know that's what I'm saying is, but I don't think anything's been proven that it was, you know, to record a verdict, as I was saying before about the Michael Brookes case. The open verdict was brought in because there was no evidence of anything else. There's no evidence of anything else.
About 20 metres wide. It's fairly consistent.
PC Thackeray is walking along, and he says
banks on both sides.
You can see it's quite clear, the river as well, and it's not much different from it was on that day. He says the flow's slightly less than it was on that day. But I've got one of my subscribers, thank you very much, sent me the flows, you know, the recorded flows from the different days, from the day he was there, from the day Nicola supposedly fell in, and from the day that Peter Falding was there, and there aren't hardly any difference. I'll show you those in a minute. We'll watch this first. So we're supposed to believe that from that day when she fell in the river, so somehow she's floated along this river at some point with nobody seeing her. She must have just waited till night time to float, mustn't she? Must have been like, oh, I'm not going to float in the day. I just float at night time when no one can see me. These people were searching for her from that day onwards for 3 weeks and nobody found her. And yet this is the river that he's trying to tell us.
And you can see there are some slightly bigger rocks, probably fallen away from the side. But all of these are searched.
All the rocks were searched.
And there was nobody here on the day in question. You probably see from the state of the river now, like I said, it's picking up in speed.
It's picking up speed, he says now, which it will pick up speed as you come to the... Oh, he's floating now.
Taking me along quite a bit faster. Let's try and measure it from the side.
Right, he's lying down now and floating with the river.
It's now probably at a slow jogging pace.
It's not going very fast, is it? Even as he stood back up again now, has he? Yeah, did you see that bit when you could see his boots? So he's laid down then. Let's just put it back a bit. Right, so he's laid down then.
So it's taking me along.
He says it's taking me along. It's not taking him along very fast, is it?
Let's try and measure it from
and then
side.
he stands back up again.
It's now probably at
So
slow jogging pace.
Slowed the pace again. So he's standing up again now. Yeah, because it wasn't carrying him along. So he stood up again now so that he can wade through it again. This is just not proving what he's supposed to be proving. This to me is just proving that if Nicola did have an accident and she was floating down there, which according to other experts, they go, yeah, why didn't they have an expert on who said about what happens when someone sort of drowns in a river? All the things I've said, the experts say they sink to the bottom. They float back up later on, unfortunately, because obviously of gases in the body, etc. So do you see what I'm saying? This is not proving what he said. So what he's trying to say is that she floated down the river, but certainly next week or so, there was intensive searches every day, people there. Then there was Peter Baldwin and nobody saw her or found her. How does that prove what he's trying to say? And there's very little to snag a body unless you got caught in the reeds, but they're supposed to have done a line of police. So I'll just remind you what he said earlier, that on that very night with torches, they did a line of police, walked the whole length of the river down to the weir, you know, line in a line, and found nothing, not a piece of clothing, nothing.
As we come around the corner, you can see the weir in front of us.
Right, so he's coming round the corner. You can see the weir in front of him now.
The weir is around about 300 metres from the point of entry. As you get towards it, water now is shin deep on me. We do think it's down a little bit.
So the water's shin deep on him, shin deep. And he said he thinks it's a little bit lower than it was on the day. Okay, well, let's even assume it was a foot. It's a foot. It was a foot higher on the day. It's up to his shin. So let's take another foot. It still wouldn't be that high, would it? You know, and I'll tell you, I'm a short ass, but even I'm 5'3". Well, actually, I think I'm 5'3".
From the day in question. But if you're floating, there's still more than enough water to push you along.
Yeah, if you're floating, there's enough water to push you along. He tried floating and it didn't work, so he got up again and started walking.
Again, all of this was searched on the night in question.
All of this was searched on the night in question, according to PC Thackeray.
Officers wading in a line, and we could see the whole width of the river.
We were wading in a line across the whole width of the river.
As you get to the weir itself, over you can see there's a lip.
Now he's at the weir.
But there's a lot of water going over it, even though the water is now down from where it was on the day. It comfortably pushed me over, float over the top.
So he laid down at the other side of the weir and it did take him over.
And straight into the faster flowing water at the bottom. It's not powerful enough, there's not a big enough drop on the other side to stop you.
Not a big enough drop to stop you on the other side, he said.
Again, we did search the other side of that weir to make sure there was nothing trapped in it.
We searched the other side of the weir to make sure there was nothing trapped in it.
So I stand up now, it's waist deep.
Waist deep.
Flowing
now.
faster. The bottom is rocky, difficult to stand up on. And it does shallow to here where I'm about knee deep. Now below the weir, this river is tidal, so it can flow in both directions.
So below the weir, it's tidal. It can flow in both directions.
Again, when we were here, it was all flowing downstream on the day. But I believe at the time she went missing, it would have been low tide. So before we arrived, there would have been a high tide that pushed things back up. And then
Now, Peter Folding commented on this, that although the river was tidal, in his experience, when it's been the tidal flow ebbs and flows, doesn't it? That's the whole point. So it will push things forward. He used the example of a sheep, didn't he? A dead sheep that he'd been involved in, a case he'd been involved in, or an example he'd been involved in. And the sheep didn't move any further really from where it was. It would move a little bit when the tide went out and it would come back when the tide came back in, but essentially it did not move from where it was.
it would have started ebbing away as we started diving. I believe the fire brigade were searching downstream, and they were here before we arrived. We arrived about 3 p.m. and started diving at 4 p.m. If you look to the left, you can see there's a sandy bank. Over to the right.
So we've got a sandy bank on the left, and then on the right, what have we got?
You can see there are some trees where someone potentially could have been caught up.
So there are some trees where somebody could have been caught up.
These weren't searched by us on the day.
These weren't searched by us on the day.
I believe the fire brigade were in a boat and were searching in and around all of these snag hazards.
I believe so he's completely dropped the fire brigade in it there, because he says, I believe the fire brigade were in a boat searching all these snag hazards, but he didn't search them.
Still currently waist deep. And there are some more trees on this right-hand bank that potentially could have been a snag hazard. In the middle of the river here,
some more trees that potentially could have been a snag hazard, but he doesn't mention whether he searched them or not. You know, why was this video not done, or something similar to this, in the first week? You know, when they didn't find her within the first couple of days, why did they not do this video then? Maybe they would have found her then.
A shallow sandbank. There's a channel that runs to the right and to the left where it's deeper. I'm just coming onto this sandbank now. I'm coming up from waist deep to shin deep. But on either side,
It's still not deep, is it? And you can virtually see, you know, anybody going past, if they looked in the river, and people were looking. I mean, that's the other thing we've got to remember. not now, there's not many people going past. But in those 3 weeks that Nicola was missing, people were walking up and down and looking specifically for any sign of Nicola. And that's how Jason in the end spotted her. Well, she came flowing right up the river, you know. So it makes you wonder, because some people say she could have been weighted down. You know, I still believe there's a strong possibility of foul play. I'm not blaming Paul. I'm not saying it was Emma. I'm not saying who it is. I don't know who it was. What I'm saying is there's a possibility. There's a man in black roaming around St. Michael's. I'd certainly be a bit wary if I was taking my dog for a walk. I want to know. I'd want to know who this man in black is.
Slightly deeper. So here I'm waist deep. You see,
there's just 2 minutes to go now. I'm wondering, is he going to walk up to where she was actually found?
Again, man-made rocks, a wall on the way down, on the river right, on river left, a sandy bank. I come over this shallow
So clear.
and back into the deeper water in the channel on the other side of it. She's now around chest deep on this side. It's around about 400 meters now from the point of entry, heading down towards the bridge, which is around about 500 meters away. And the water here, as we exit the corner, is deeper and off bottom.
There's the bridge there that she would have walked over, isn't it, I think?
Around about 2 meters. Again, I'm not swimming, I'm just being pushed along.
Yeah, look, there's somebody walking past there.
Which is at a slow walking pace. You see a large tree overhanging the water here, where potentially somebody floating could be caught. If I go over to it, just put my legs under it, pretty sure.
Right, so he's seen this tree and he said, here's a tree where someone potentially could have been caught. So did you search that PC plot?
So there's not a lot that's actually hanging into the water. It definitely could stop you if you came into it. But there's nothing underneath these.
But did you search it?
Branches that are on the surface. There's nothing hanging down into the water.
Did you search that on the day that tree now, or did you not? You know, what you're saying?
Again, still steep-sided. With man-made.
Do you notice how he avoided the fact of whether that was ever searched or not? He just said, oh, there's a tree here overhanging where somebody could be caught. Never mentioned whether it had been searched or not.
Banking.
Okay, so what do we think? What do we think about that? What do we think about that? So that was supposedly evidence that Nicola might have, if she had gone into the water. It's all rubbish, I think, personally. I just don't like it. You know, I've been up all night as well. I don't know if Penny pushed her in. I don't know if anyone pushed her in. But to me, I think somebody pushed her in, because I can't see. When we looked at the beginning of that video, I'm not going to play it again now because I've got some other things I just want to show you before I finish. But the policeman started by he had to walk to the edge of the water. At the bench, you can't fall into the water, even if you fainted, even if you passed out, even if someone pushed you over, you have to go to the edge of the water. You have to go right to the edge. Would Nikki really have gone to the edge? Why would she have gone to the edge? You know, she knew. She's not stupid. She knows it's dangerous. Just nobody would stand at the edge there. So I don't believe it. So let's see if the coroner's, if it's come up on the coroner's. It's still not come up on the actual coroner's website either, even though there's a guy here who had his inquest yesterday. Has come up on the coroner's website, but I can't see Nicola's verdict up there, which is probably just taking them a long time to put it up there, but it's not up there yet. What was the other thing I wanted to show you? Oh yeah, so suddenly now they've released official CCTV, haven't they, of that day? You know, we saw the CCTV that was sent to the True Crime channel for some totally unknown reason. That I still don't believe in, you know, don't understand why that happened. But look, we have had Lancashire Police have released Ring doorbell footage. So this is similar footage to what we saw on Ghastly True Crime, showing Miss Bulley leaving home with her partner Paul Ansell and her children on the morning of her death. So this is one picture. Let's see if I can. Don't know if I can make it any bigger, but anyway, so that's the picture with Nikki and Paul, and that's more or less what we saw, wasn't it? The CCTV footage that was released. And then there's a still. What does that image PA mean? Does that mean this belongs to PA? Anyway, so this is, I found this very haunting, this, let's see if I can get it up bigger. Anyway, you can see it, can't you? Yeah, very haunting, that image of Paul, the two, I think these are the two children, aren't they? You know, that last norm, and these pictures have been released by Lancashire Police now. Not by Paul or Paul's friend to a True Crime channel, but as they should be released through official channels. This is what I don't understand, why they've been released now. What's the purpose, of releasing them now? Why weren't they released at the time? Anyway, that's a very poignant. We've got Willow here. We've got the two girls obviously blocked out, and we've got PA, which it says this is where they say these images come from. And look what he's got on. So he's got his hoodie on and his gym gear. Looks like gym gear to me. I don't know. When he said he put his gym gear on, what does he mean by gym gear? Does he mean shorts, or does he mean like leggings, joggers like this? And why can't I make it? Let's see. I might have to save an image to make it bigger. See if I can make it bigger. If I oops. Gosh. Oh, I can't work out how to make it bigger. I have to work that out. I'll be here forever trying to do it, you know. Anyway, you can see it. You can see the image. So they released this image of the two children, Paul and Willow. Very, very poignant image. Nikki's not on that image. When this higher up at this image here above, that is Paul and Nikki, and I'm presuming the children were in the back of the car then. So I'd imagine what's happened here is Paul's come out and put the children and the dog in the car. Is that what he said that he did? And then Nicola's come out. It's very sad, isn't it? Like the you know, life's going to change completely for those children on that day. Very sad. Very poignant, I think. So, you know, it's not exactly, it's not a dressing gown. It's not a dressing gown. It's a hoodie. I could see but I could see that when the other picture that we saw, not necessarily on these pictures, but the picture that was released, yeah, when he's there, you could think that was a dressing gown when he stood there. If that was the only picture you had to go by, you know, it is possible. But you can see clearly on the picture underneath, it is not a dressing gown. Now, I don't know if Paul did anything to Nicola. All I'm saying is there's enough room for, or there's not enough evidence, let's say, that it was an accidental death. That's my opinion. That's the only thing I'm saying. Now, there was a couple of other things I wanted to just say before. So the Michael Brookes, so why was his inquest open and this one is accidental death? Oh, the river levels, that's right. I wanted to see. I'm going to go into the hijacker. I don't know what date's on the photo, but it says, let's see if I can. It says PA on it. PA, image, PA. That's all it says actually on that photo. I don't know what the actual date is on the photo, but you can see it says Ring doorbell footage shows Miss Bulley leaving home on the morning of her death with her partner Paul Ansell, in brackets image PA. So what that means, I don't know. Does it mean Paul Ansell, or does it might mean something completely different? So I'm not saying that does mean Paul Ansell. Hi, Vicky. Yes, I did see well, to be honest, I was a bit, last night, I tried not to watch anything about it because I was just like, you know, a bit sort of shell-shocked. But it was rubbish, yeah. It was a rubbish press conference. I've watched bits of it. I haven't watched the whole thing all the way through. Maybe I need to do that at some point. PA could be Press Association. Yeah, it could be. So I don't know what PA stands for. Now, one of my subscribers who's actually here in the chat did send me the river flows. So we're going to have a look at them. So what have we got here? So on the 27th of January, how do I show you this? Let me see. I'll take that way. I hate doing this. I always seem to right. Okay. Oh, I think that worked then. It's great when it, yeah. Okay, so these are the water flow records that somebody sent me. It's very useful. And I'll mention their name if they want me to, but if not, I won't. But somebody who is here on one of my subscribers who's here in the chat. So on the 27th of January, there's our water flow. We've got 0.440. Let me just write that down. 0.4. I thought the dogs had been quiet. 0.461 and 0.8. So that's the first one. Let's have a look at the next one. Okay. Thank you, DMV videos. Shut up. Shh. Gosh, I can't concentrate while you're barking. When it comes to figures, I have to concentrate because I'm rubbish with numbers. As you probably realise by now. So, right. Then on the 4th of April, so this is when PC Plod was there, the video that we've just seen, 4th of April, they were 406, so only slightly, look. So if it was 0.440, when the day Nikki went missing. Now we're on 0.406, 0.407, and 0.407. So only very, very slightly different. And then I think the third one that Vicky showed me was the day that Peter Falding was there. Yeah. Window. I think it's the third one, yeah. There. So the third one, we've got when Peter Falding was there on the 2nd of February. So we've got 0.457. So that's a bit more, is it? 0.457. Yeah. 0.460 and 0.462. And thank you very much for that, and also for drawing around it, because I'm a bit number dyslexic. You know how people are dyslexic with words? I'm a bit number dyslexic. It helps if I have it actually sort of outlined, and then I can sort of register it better. I just don't know why I'm not good with numbers. So yeah, so the water flows were, you know, the same virtually. 50 millimeters, not, yeah, see, I don't understand that. I'm not very good with figures. So I think the parents are happy with the result of accidental death, because I think that is the best case scenario in a way for them, and for what to tell the children and things like that. Now, my personal opinion is there's not enough evidence for that, but I can understand why they push for that. I can understand that. They want a sort of a closure, don't they? They want to get on with it. They've got the children to think about. I just worry about the children a little bit, but you know, it's the push for me. I think Nicola may, don't know, but I think there's just as much evidence that Nicola was pushed into the river as there's enough evidence that she fell in accidentally. I don't see there's any difference between the evidence for those two things. I agree that I'm glad that the evidence has proven that it wasn't, she didn't take her own life. I'm really pleased with that. I'm pleased that the coroners showed, the inquest showed that she had no alcohol in the system, so that's gone, you know. And that was what the family, you know, whoever the family is, to be fair, it was the family and the police that raised these issues about alcohol. It wasn't the social media. And from when those rumours came out, we've been poo-pooing it right from the start, that we don't believe that we think that's gaslighting, that she was being almost held to blame for her own death, if you like, her own accidental death. So we know that we know that we haven't said anything like that. We've never said anything to disrespect Nicola, ever. Well, I certainly haven't, and I'm sure most of you haven't. So if not all of you. That's right. And the parents have got to think of their contact with their grandchildren and that, and maybe it makes it better for the grandchildren if there is some insurance, because it means there's more money available to, you know, at the end of the day, the children, they're going to need, because we feel, you know, it feels like Nikki was a big part of the income in that family, wasn't she? You know, she wasn't, you know, doing like a 3-hour job a week sort of thing. She was working full time, so her income will have had a big influence on their family sort of income. You know, I still don't really properly know what Paul does, or Paul reminds me of Chandler on Friends, you know, and nobody ever really understood what his job was. I mean, you know, they're bound to be so there's a lot of reasons There's a lot of reasons. Mickey the Monkey, I appreciate what you said, but don't mention other channels on here. And actually, it hasn't been proven that it's been meddled with, not officially. So I only like to deal with official things. I don't know enough about CCTV, etc. I think the trouble with CCTV is you can make it say more or less what you want it to say, because it's CCTV, isn't it? You know, and it's sometimes it's a bit grainy, or it's a bit, you know, and there's been a lot made of that. I mean, to me, the only thing to make of that CCTV was, why was it ever released to a true crime channel in the first place by Nicola's partner? You know, why? That is the only thing for me that was too weird about that CCTV footage. And now suddenly, after the inquest, we're getting this from Lancashire Police. You know, and the other thing that was suspicious to me about that CCTV footage, and even this now, we're still not actually seeing the Nicola drive off or Paul go back into the house. You know, why not? I don't understand why you just show little bits of something. Why not just show the CCTV footage of them coming out, the whole thing? You know, what's there to be? What reason is there not to just show the whole thing? As soon as they come onto the camera, they get in the car, or put the children in the car, obviously blurring out kids, put the dog in the car, Nikki getting into the car and driving away. Why haven't we seen all that whole thing? That's the only thing to me that's weird about the CCTV. But okay, so that's more or less all I've got to tell you today is, so if you didn't catch the thing at the beginning that I was saying about Michael Brookes was a very similar case to Nicola's. A guy who went into the river, a 19-year-old boy, bless him, was found 2 weeks later, despite extensive searches, to be fair. So, you know, it's difficult. I know it. I mean, I don't know anything about that river, how it compares to this river, or etc. And then there was not enough evidence. The coroner found there's not enough evidence to find how he had ended up in the water. And though the evidence, you know, the autopsy showed he had drowned, he hadn't been attacked before he went into the water. But there was not enough evidence to show how he had ended up in the water. So the coroner called it an open verdict. So this is what I don't understand then. Why is this not an open verdict? This is my question. And then the other thing I showed you was something that you may have seen on, I don't know who's released it in the first, I mean, who's released this police cam? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Have the police released it themselves? You know, they don't want us to go into like speculation, but you've got to think, who had that police cam of the river and released it? Who had access to it that they could release it to all the YouTube channels? You know, who had it and did it, and why did they do it? So yeah, well, Michael's mum, she wants answers, doesn't she? But it seems unlikely she's going to get any answers. And I think a lot of it, yeah, she didn't have, as far as I know. Maybe it's about whether you get a legal team, if you can afford a legal team or not. So yeah, I'm going to look into the other things I want to look in. So in case you missed it at the beginning, I think I said at the beginning, maybe I didn't. I want to say thank you to everyone who's been with me through this, because I think, oh my goodness, especially this week, you know, all of you that have watched, liked, subscribed, people have joined, sent super chats and things. But the most important thing is just being here with me, because as I'm going through these things that are going through my head, it's nice to go through it with other people as well and see what they think. So I wanted to say that. And the other thing I wanted to say is, yeah, this week I'm just going to go through some of the things of the inquest that make me not happy it's an open verdict, but then I'm not going to keep going on about the Nicola Bulleys case unless anything else comes up. I just want to, I've got to have my say about why I think it shouldn't have been declared an open. I really just don't understand. Shouldn't have been declared accidental death. I don't think there's any proof that it's accidental death. I think the only reason it's been declared that is from pressure from the family, which is fair enough. Don't get me wrong, it's fair enough. Oh, thank you, Cyanide and David. So I will be doing, I want to look at the man in black. I want to look at the evidence of the screams and why all that has just been completely, disregarded. And I want to say to anyone who lives in St. Michael's of Weir, will you be careful when you're walking your dog, because that man in black has not been, nobody knows who it was. So if we don't know who it was, what if he pops up again? So I will see you. Remember to always live and love very carefully. Thank you to all of you that sent me emails as well and things like that, and for the information, Vicky, etc., because that's very interesting for me, that water flow and that. And I would never have found that because my mind just doesn't work in that way. So, and thanks for outlining it and everything, so even a thicko like me could see. So yeah, remember to always live and love very wisely, carefully. Look after yourself first, because you are the most important thing. You have to look after yourself to be able to look after everybody else. And until I see you again very shortly, may your gods go with you. Thank you so much.